Guy Madison lists the LGBTQ stars from the old Hollywood movies. His dates were secret. He was born in Kern County, California, on January 19, 1922, as Robert Ozell Mosley. Madison came from a poor family because she was born during the Great Depression. His early years were shaped by small-town beliefs, and he didn't want to be an actor at first. After finishing from Bakersfield College, he studied animal husbandry with the goal of working in agriculture. However, the start of World War II quickly changed his plans. Madison joined the U.S. Navy during the war and did his country proud as a radio operator in the Pacific. Serving in the military shaped a lot of his personality. It taught him discipline, patriotism, and humility, all of which people would come to associate with many of the parts he would play later on. Life took a terrible turn for Madison in 1944 while she was on a short break in Hollywood. Henry Wilson, a talent agent, found him because he thought he had the looks of a movie star. It was that same year that Madison made her first movie appearance in the David O. Selnick directed the romantic drama Since She Went Away, in which he played a clean-cut soldier, a role that Americans liked during the war. Even though Madison had never been in a starring role before, his first movie got a lot of positive reviews, and Hollywood quickly took notice. He got a deal from Selnick and was soon being trained to be a star. In the late 1940s, Madison was in a number of movies that played on his all-American image. These included Honeymoon, 1947, and Till the End of Time, 1946, in which he acted with Robert Mitchum. At first, Madison got mixed reviews from critics because he hadn't done much acting before. But as time went on, his natural charm and honest acts won over audiences. Wild Bill Hickok, the main character in the hit TV and radio show The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, which ran from 1951 to 1958, was his biggest hit. The Western show, which was based on the real-life border marshal, made Madison even more famous. Madison played Wild Bill Hickok with a mix of stern courage and friendly warmth. He wore cowboy clothes and had an assistant named Jingles, who was played by Andy Devine. It was one of the first shows to be shown on both TV and radio at the same time, and millions of people watched it. He was loved by both kids and adults, and the way he was portrayed in American media helped make the golden age of Westerns. Toys, comic books, and even cereal boxes had his picture on them. He also often went to rodeos and public events, where he always treated fans with respect and kindness. Madison continued to act in feature films throughout the 1950s and 1960s, even though he was popular on TV. He was in a lot of westerns and action, adventure movies, like The Charge at Feather River, 1953, which was known for using 3D sound effects in a new way. As westerns became more popular, Madison moved a lot of his career abroad, especially to Italy, where he starred in many spaghetti westerns and war movies in the 1960s. These European productions kept his work going strong, and people all over the world became familiar with him. Even though these movies didn't always have a lot of money, Madison always played his parts with professionalism and honesty. The years went by, and Madison slowly faded from public view. In the late 1970s, he stopped starring, but he was still a popular figure at Western conventions and classic film festivals, where fans of all ages would come to honor Wild Bill Hickok and the golden age of Westerns. Madison won the Golden Boot Award in 1996 for his work in Western movies and TV shows. This was given to him in recognition of his lasting influence on the genre. Guy Madison married actress Gail Russell in 1949, when he was at the height of his fame in Hollywood. Russell was also a star, and her haunting beauty and emotionally charged roles in movies like The Uninvited, 1944, and Angel and the Bad Man, 1947, had captivated viewers. People thought they were a great match because they were both young, attractive, and coming up quickly in their jobs. That being said, their partnership was full of emotional problems behind the scenes. Russell was a very sensitive and shy woman who also battled with severe social anxiety and alcoholism. The stresses of living in Hollywood made her problems worse. Even though Madison was there for his wife at first, he couldn't handle the emotional toll and instability that her inner turmoil was taking on him. As Madison's playing career took off, including his lead role in The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, the couple grew farther apart, both emotionally and physically. After 4 years of marriage, they finally split up in 1953, and their divorce was finalized in October 1954. Even though they broke up, Madison was said to have stayed kind to Russell during her personal problems, even though their lives would go in very different directions after that. In an unexpected change of events, Madison got married again soon after his divorce from Russell was finalized. He married actress Sheila Connolly in Juarez, Mexico, in late October 1954. At the time, Juarez was a famous place for quick marriages and divorces. Madison and Connolly, who was famous for her parts in westerns and dramas in the 1950s, both liked being outside and spending time with family. At first, their relationship seemed stable and loving. They got married, started a family, and had 3 daughters, Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison allegedly took great pride in being a dad and tried to balance his time in Hollywood with time with his kids, even though he grew up in a big family. But the stresses of working in the entertainment business and Madison's frequent trips for film and TV work in the US and Europe started to hurt their marriage. They were no longer together by November 1960, and they got a divorce in April 1963. Even though they were no longer married, Madison kept a friendly friendship with Connolly and was involved in the lives of their daughters. After that, Madison started dating actress Jakala, who was beautiful and had Italian and Irish roots. She was known for her roles in movies like The Guns of Navarone in 1961. Some of their friends said that their relationship was strong and emotionally complicated, even though they were never married. Gail was known for being charming and open, but she had also had problems with sadness and alcohol, just like Madison's first wife. Still, she stayed close with Madison, and according to biographical sources, their relationship was so strong that before Scola's sudden and strange death in 1972, she named Madison as the beneficiary of her share of the screen. The actor's retirement fund. Lots of people saw this as a sign of love and trust, and it emphasized how long they had been together, even though their relationship wasn't typical. Guy Madison had 3 children from his marriage to Sheila Connolly. He also had a son named Robert Madison, who also became an actor like his father. Born to Madison after she had been with someone else. In the 1960s and 1970s, Madison spent a lot of time playing in European movies, mostly spaghetti westerns. Robert grew up in Italy, where Madison lived. Robert made a good name for himself as an actor in Italy, where he worked in both TV shows and movies. Even though they lived in different states and generations, the bond between father and son was strong. Guy Madison is said to have helped and guided Robert as he dealt with the difficulties of working in the entertainment business. He did this by sharing both his professional knowledge and the qualities of resilience and adaptability that had made his own career possible. People knew Guy Madison for decades as the star of westerns and war movies with the straight jaw and soft voice. In the 1940s and 1950s, he was a hero among women thanks to his rugged good looks, quiet personality, and boy-next-door charm. He was best known for playing Wild Bill Hickok on the long-running TV show The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, but Madison's rough Hollywood exterior and carefully crafted public image hid a much more complicated and private life. It was shaped by the strict moral rules of the studio system and the constant fear of being found out as gay during a time when homosexuality was strongly frowned upon. Madison's recently published memoir, which is made up of interviews and personal letters, shows the hidden parts of his life. It includes very personal and heartfelt accounts of his relationships with other actors, many of whom were also actors, closed off and limited by the same strict rules. For the first time, names and faces from Hollywood's golden age are revealed. These are men who loved and lived in secret because they were afraid for their careers, because even a hint of homosexuality could ruin a career back then. The way Madison writes about her thoughts shows how strong, wanting, and connected people can be. He tells the truth about his friendship with Ramon Novarro, a famous silent movie star best known for his part in Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1925. Ramon was kind, pious, and smarter than most people thought. Madison writes, "We'd meet in quiet parts of West Hollywood or sneak off to Palm Springs like we were going to rest and relax. We found peace there, but not the kind of peace either of us could claim in public." He also talks warmly and fondly of Tyrone Power, the flashy matinee idol whose bisexuality was rumored but never confirmed during his lifetime. Madison says Power was charismatic and conflicted, a man who had to deal with two sets of expectations, studio contracts, and personal truth. "We became friends when the cameras stopped rolling and the masks came off. In those rare moments of silence, we were just two men trying to figure out what love could be when everyone else wouldn't see it." Another name Madison gives is Anthony Perkins, the psycho star whose sexuality was mostly kept a secret among people who worked in Hollywood. Madison says that their relationship was short but intense. She remembers that Tony was young and troubled, and he was never sure how much he could tell someone who knew what was at stake. "We shared a few passionate months, tangled in both excitement and anxiety. He always seemed to be looking over his shoulder, and for good reason," she says. Madison talks about his relationship with Rock Hudson, whose death from AIDS in 1985 changed the way people talked about homosexuality in Hollywood. Madison says that their relationship was both happy and sad. Rock had the smile of a golden boy and the soul of a man who had to break himself into pieces to survive. It was only on the weekends that we spent together in Big Bear or over dinners in his canyon hideaway. But even stolen moments can last a lifetime. Madison is careful not to make his writings too exciting. His tone is thoughtful, reverent, and full of compassion that comes from having shared experience. These weren't just names or thrillers. They were real connections in a world that often didn't allow them. "We didn't date the way people think of dating now," he says. "It was furtive, coded, cautious, but it was real. We laughed, held each other, watched the sunrise, and talked about the transparent lives we wished we could have lived." Aside from being revealing, the memoir also shows how fear and secrecy affected the mental health of gay men in Hollywood in the 1960s. Madison talks about the stress of studio contracts with morality clauses, the constant threat of tabloid exposure, and the mental weight of always hiding one's identity. He admits, "There were times I thought I might go crazy from pretending." Every interview and photo op with a female co-star was an act, but the real performance was never on screen. It happened in real life, but Madison doesn't just live in the shadows. He also enjoys the small victories, the secret love letters, the sneaky looks across sound stages, and the comfort of having someone hold his hand under a restaurant table. "We found happiness wherever we could," he writes. "In a world that tried to deny us love, we found it anyway." Guy Madison's choice to tell his truth, even if it was dishonest, brings to light the stories of many actors whose names are still hidden in coded biographies and clean studio histories. Guy Madison retired from a long and successful career in film and TV, and chose to live in the peaceful and beautiful Morongo Valley. His memoir not only reclaims his personal truth, but it also adds to the larger effort to honor the lives of LGBTQ+ people who shaped and were shaped by Hollywood's golden age. The Morongo Valley in Southern California's high desert is famous for its scenic beauty, panoramic mountain views, and peaceful atmosphere. It was the perfect place for Madison to escape after decades of being in the public eye. He built a large ranch-style home there that showed his love of nature and his need for privacy and quiet in his later years. The property was not only his home, but also a place where he could enjoy nature, hang out with close friends, and do fun things like horseback riding and gardening, which were interests that the actor had had for a long time, especially since he had been in westerns and action movies. As time went on, though, Madison's health started to get worse. He had emphysema, a long-term, progressive lung disease that is often linked to smoking, which made it very hard for him to move around and breathe in his later years. Despite his illness, he reportedly stayed as active as his condition would allow, getting visits from friends and staying in touch with many former co-workers and fans who remembered him fondly for his work in classic TV and movies. Guy Madison died on February 6, 1996, at the age of 74. He died at the Desert Hospital Hospice in Palm Springs, California, which is known for its compassionate end-of-life care. For fans who grew up watching him in westerns, especially his famous role as Wild Bill Hickok, his death marked the end of an era. In Cathedral City, California, Madison was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery, which is a peaceful and beautifully landscaped cemetery where many famous people from Hollywood are buried. Being buried there with other stars showed how much of an impact he had on the entertainment industry. A small but heartfelt funeral service was held for Madison. Close friends, family members, and former co-workers who knew him personally and professionally attended. Don Burnett, a close friend and fellow actor who had retired to become a stockbroker, paid tribute to him. Burnett gave a moving eulogy at Madison's funeral that talked about his career, his character, and the lasting friendships he had made. He praised Madison not only as a famous and loved actor, but also as a loyal friend and a humble man who had lived with honesty, grace, and quiet dignity. 3.